Hey, peace, world. I had to come back with this Outkick conversation and Joe Kinsey and just some truth, according to how I see it. I guess it's just Wood's truth. But the funny thing about this Joe Kinsey piece and his issue with the Kerry Champion and Jamel Hill line of questioning or question to Jake Paul about whether or not him knocking out, based on the current racial climate in the country, with him knocking out former NBA player Nate Robinson, if that was racist. The ironic thing is, several years ago, whenever the Chappelle show was on, if Jamel Hill and Kerry, even if it was them, it didn't even have to. It could have been them on the show asking that same question. Somebody like Joe Kinsey would have found that hilarious. That the question that Jamel Hill and Kerry Champion just asked, I don't know, recently, today or whatever, maybe it was during last week when they had Jake Paul on. And maybe Joe Kinsey, maybe this is my thing. You're at Outkick.com. Why didn't you reach out to Jake Paul to ask him the questions that you wanted to ask him? Instead of attacking them for what they do on their program, why didn't you go get the interview? That's one of the benefits of being at Outkick. But again, years ago, and I'll be honest, man, I never even watched the Chappelle show. I don't know, maybe it was on Sunday night when it was active, doing when it was airing. Maybe that's why. I don't know, but I never watched it. And matter of fact, when I went back and was watching the reruns, I really didn't even get into the show other than to see the artists that were on there. I thought a lot of it was, with the exception of a couple of skits, a couple of bits, I really didn't find the show all that hilarious. But ironically, several conservative white coworkers loved the show. But this is the same thing. This is the same thing, like I mentioned with the racial draft. This would have been regarded as a joke on the Chappelle show, similar to the racial draft, similarly to Clayton Bigsby or whatever his name was, the blind brother who was in the KKK. It's all the same stuff. But now where we are, it's unacceptable because people have been plugged in and been getting programmed for the last, over 5 to 7 years. Now it's no longer acceptable. Or now it's profitable that the everyday dude or a Joe Kinsey, now you can fund a website like Outkick, and you can benefit from this audience who you're constantly feeding this issue to, this central issue to, and keeping, like I said, keeping these two groups at one another's neck. People just out here getting manipulated for the profit of the people with the outlets. Who knows if they even believe most of this stuff? Now, like I said, I check out some stuff on Outkick.com from time to time because recently, speaking of the whole Chappelle show, this is why Chappelle doesn't want. This is why he just got upset about the show being on Netflix. This is why he walked away from the show. This is why I say I don't even feel funny about admitting that I didn't watch the show when it was on, because the reason why the show shut down was why I didn't find the show all that great when it was on. If you know the whole story behind it and why he left and went to Africa and that whole thing, you can do the math. But again, and on the Chappelle show, you know that if you know about the show, you know that Neil Brennan wrote a lot of those skits, the more popular skits. From what I understand, he's the one that created the racial draft. which everybody was in love with back in the day. But now, Kerry Champion and Jamel Hill, they can't ask Jake Paul this obvious joke. It was a joke, and I haven't seen it, to get the context of it. But I know them. I know what their material is about. I know how they do their presentation. So, but for him to come on and say, which is just hearsay, that's what he inferred from it. That was his interpretation of what they were doing. But to go out here and write this article and say, without a doubt, without question, that they were trying to go to Jake Paul, and what has Jake Paul done? He was very showed a lot of good sportsmanship in talking with Nate Robinson after he knocked him out. He's been respectful to the sport of boxing, which American boxing is highly, Black Americans, African Americans, highly represented in boxing. The gyms that he's been involved in, the most of the fighters that he likes, I'm sure that he handled the question without skipping a beat, because he understood what they were. He probably laughed because he understood it was a joke. Very funny that Joe Kinsey didn't even mention what the response was. He focused on telling you what the question was, made no mention of how Jake Paul responded. Why not tell your people that? That's the thing. They tell you the first half of the sentence, but don't tell you how the sentence finished. Another classic setup to keep the people at one another's neck. Now I gotta go look it up to see what the man, because I can assure you, probably nothing too dissimilar to what Tyson Fury during the whole lead up to the rematch with Deontay Wilder. It was some cat. I can't even think of who that was now. Maybe it was the dude. He used to write at Two Dope Boys. Andreas Hale, I think. Everybody else in the building doing their thing, and Andreas Hale he wanted to ask something, trying to tie the event into African and Black History Month, African American History, whatever month, because the fight was in February. And Tyson Fury, who he does his dancing, and he did run into the issue with reciting some lyrics that had the N-word in it. But he answered the question and said, man, the color of our skin has nothing to do with this fight. We getting ready to go in here and see who the best fighter is, the best man is on the night. That's what we're getting ready to go in here decide. There's none of that means nothing in this little rivalry right here that they've created to make millions of dollars off of. But again, us everyday folks, we got to get involved with it, and we got to run in and make it black versus white. Like this matter right here, which was not even that. But Joe Kinsey, stuck in his world, told them what they were trying to do. They were trying to goad him into. That's ridiculous, man. That's really ridiculous. That's almost enough for me not to fool with Outkick.com anymore. It's about 2 or 3 other dudes on there that are always on the same. It's same different story, same theme. Every article they write. It's pretty sad. And then you look down in the comment section and you wonder why the same 15 to 30 people always have the same response to every story. And they don't understand that they're being hand-fed to just dig further in on those views. But anyway, I just had to come and clean it. I watched some of the video and saw that in several spots, because I lost my Wi-Fi, certain points didn't really get made the way I was trying to make them. But you can definitely go check out the article on Outkick.com. It's by, like I said, Joe Kinsey. And you'll see it's got Jamel and Carrie's name is in the title or whatever. And I would encourage people, check out content from a couple of different platforms, and just look at the matrix and see what the game is. See what the game is that's being played. I wish I could figure out how to tap into driving some viewership, some readership, to my platforms and whatnot. But it's not that serious for me, I guess, because it's not the sole way that I feed my family and pay my bills. But anyway, I just had to come back on and try to clarify that. Another thing that I always wonder about, completely off topic, but a bit of an aside to that, with where we are right now, I remember a lot of dudes that used to like Rage Against the Machine, a lot of white guys. I wonder how they would. I wonder how they would be received right now, quote unquote, like Joe Kinsey said, or like Jamel Hill said, with the racial conversation in America, how it is, which is really not just racist, it's class, and then it's also kind of what your political affiliations is. That's really what it is. It's class and your political leanings. But I just wonder what a group like Rage Against the Machine, how would they be received in 2020? Maybe even a Public Enemy. Maybe they wouldn't even have never even made it to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And kind of become as mainstream as they did in the last 15 or 20 years versus when they were out back in the day and they ran into the issue with Professor Griff. But anyway, I digress. Let me get on off of here, man. Pay me no mind, sports and entertainment. Had to talk about something not serious, but off the beaten path, and just encouraging sports writers and sports media people. Just talk about the sports. Don't talk about the other people talking about the sports. How simple is that? Anyway, let me get on out of here, man. Enjoy the rest of your day.